Hey guys, Milo here with SoulForge, and today I'm going to talk about a theory that I've basically been synthesizing. This is still pretty vague and, loose, and I'm not super married to any of the ideas here, but basically the essential thesis is that hyperintelligent women, or women that are outliers in certain traits, whether it be agreeableness, neuroticism, some variation of traits that basically makes them hard to, that makes it hard for them to find partners. So, obviously, intelligence does that because men tend to want to marry down in terms of intelligence, and women tend to want to marry up. So, it becomes a very difficult proposition indeed for these, say genius level women, 145 IQs, they're at the very fringe of the bell curve, point zero zero whatever percentile, and it makes it very difficult for these women to find mates, right? And the further you go up the bell curve, the harder it is. But at the end of the day, it's still like a 20% of women are gonna find it pretty difficult to find mates. So maybe 20% of women, maybe only a quarter of those 20%. So maybe 5% of those. So maybe there's 15% of women. Point is that can't find partners, and if you can't do the natural norm, if you can't follow the natural trend for social behavior when it comes to finding a mate, having a family, becoming part of the community, and all this stuff, it's all very essential to us as humans. We're social beings. So if these 15% of women can't do that, and they can't, as misogynistic as it sounds, submit to a man and help him basically with his life mission. Of course, they choose the man based on what they believe in and what he is trying to accomplish in the world, and it all has to line up. So it's not insubstantial. They're basically going to not only help him in basically achieving whatever he wants to achieve in the world, so what they believe in, but also they're going to help create children that also propagate those same beliefs, values, and missions. So it's a really sort of you guys, or basically any man and woman that marry and have children are essentially doing twofold, are twofold pushing forward their ideals. One, in what the man is trying to accomplish, and the woman can work too, right, to some extent. And then two, the woman basically through her ability, amazing ability of compassion, patience, and empathy, and all these things that children really need, because children are stupid and silly and so childish, right? They childlike, and they can't understand things that well. And of course they can't. How could they possibly? They need the huge amounts of experience to be able to navigate in this world and understand things, right? So the women are vital in communicating. Basically, women are communicators, and so it's such an amazing thing. So men are men of action, right? They are the ones who are going to be competing and getting things done in this sort of aggressive way, right? Well, that women in general don't really like doing. That's just the fact of it. So now that I've set this up, so that's the norm, right? The norm is a woman finding a man whose mission she believes in, and not raising children that will also push forward that mission, through the mission of values, the mission of whatever you're trying to push forward into the world, and make come about, right, in this great world we have with all the social structures and everything, and so back to the 15% of women that can't do this. So this 15% of women that can't do this become extremely resentful, and rightly so. And this is where I feel a great degree of compassion and, sadness for these women, because they are basically, they're born into a world where they are sort of incongruent with the majority of with the norm. So they're basically these weird paradoxes where they've been granted this amazing gift of intelligence, right? Where they can understand things, and they have a higher threshold of competent, or higher ability or ceiling of competence in anything that they try to do. That's a complex problem, right? They can excel at a great number of different fields, and they can really follow their passions and their wherever their hearts lead them, right? And wherever their interests and personalities lead them. So they have on one hand they have that, but then on the other hand, the trade-off is that they find it extremely difficult to submit to a man that's less intelligent than them, and there's only so many intelligent men that are going to want to mate with them, and that's just the reality. Men and women have different bell curves of intelligence. While the average IQ in most ethnic groups is very similar or the same, the women have a bell curve. So say there's a population like the U.S. that IQ, for example sake, is 100, right? So if you have an average IQ of 100 for both men and women, there can be different distributions, right? So the distribution for men in general is going to be a little more spread out. So there's more geniuses. I don't know which side I'm doing this. I can't think and talk at the same time. So there's more geniuses on one side, and there's more retarded people on the other side, right? And then there's a little bit less people in the middle. It's more flattened of a bell curve, right? I'll put up a picture. And for women, that distribution is scrunched up, so there's less retards and less geniuses, right? And that makes, but point being, there's only so many geniuses. Even with those distributions, there's only so many male geniuses for the female geniuses, and those male geniuses probably aren't going to want to pick a mate that's super close in terms of intelligence, because that's just going to lead to arguments, and it's going to basically, like, there's a really great reason that it works the way it does, or the relationships work the way they do, and that is that it's more efficient to have a leader. It just is. It's just more efficient to have somebody leading. Now, a lot of people don't like that, and of course these feminists don't like that, because they're really smart. Because, and I've seen this so many times, and it can't be a coincidence. And of course, again, this is all me just theorizing, but intelligence is very common among these feminists, and a lot of people try to discredit them and call them names and call them stupid and ignorant and all this stuff, and rejecting of science, and some of those things sometimes might be true, but I think that they're very intelligent on average, and this is why and here's the other big whammy. So lesbianism, and this is going to connect to everything that kind of Milo Yiannopolous talks about regarding feminists and lesbianism and all this stuff. Lesbianism is a direct result of those 15% of women that can't find a partner. If there is a bunch of intelligent fringe women who can't find partners and want to have careers, what are they going to do? They're going to, if you can't find a man, and we're both in the same group, and we still want love, we still want sex, we still want all this stuff that humans want, and make you content. The natural thing is just going to be to partner together and create something out of nothing. And in that sense, I think that's really beautiful. It might be weird coming from a conservative, but I think that's a really great thing. That women, those women can find some kind of love and some kind of, partnership. And even if it isn't conventional, and even if it isn't the most natural thing, and they have to kind of, I'm sure, in these kinds of lesbian relationships, it's very difficult, and they experience various problems that same-sex, or no, sorry, hetero, whatever, normal couples don't have to deal with. But it's still something, and it still can make them, content in the world. And of course, they can't have kids. They can. Well, they can. They just need a sperm bank or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of the basis of my thought. And I'm gonna title this video "Why Milo Yiannopolous is Wrong." One, shamelessly to garner attention, because Milo's gets a lot of attention, but also because I think this is an aspect that Milo overlooks, or for sake of drama and flamboyance in his whole act, he downplays. But I think it's something that's very important to help bridge the divide between the left and the right, and basically to bridge the divide between the feminists and the non-feminists, and the SJWs and the non-SJWs. I think these people need our compassion. I think these people need our understanding, and I think these people need our acceptance, because if we don't accept the fact that there are women who not only should be in the workplace, but can't find partners because of basically genetic, probabilistic, statistical realities, then we're always going to have this clash, and they're always going to be extremely unhappy. And it's really no wonder that the feminism happened, and that these rights were created. I think these rights were created specifically for those women who were unhappy in these, because they are so smart, and they can be doing all these things, and I think it's a great thing that they're able to, and I think it's really important that we secured the possibility for women to enter the workplace. But now I think it's just time to, loosen up, and basically, now that we've been granted this semi-equality, as close as we can get it, whether it's in Sweden or in the U.S., but there's amazing social equality amongst the genders. So much, in fact, that in Sweden, the amount of nursing, like the disparities in the job markets have actually increased, because it's gotten so level that everybody is basically just doing what they want. There's not a lot of social pressure, directing women one way or another. It's relatively equal, and so now the differences are even more pronounced, and so there's more men who are lawyers, and there's more women who are nurses. So a higher proportion than in the U.S., for instance, even though Sweden is way more progressive and liberal and all these things. So yeah, it's just there's a lot of factors in all these issues, and there's just so much depth. I'm going to make another video on the actual effects of feminism on the various social institutions, whether it be government, education, religion, Christianity, all these things, because they've been heavily affected by basically the introduction of women into leading roles in society, and this has really made a profound difference. And I'm not so sure that it's been for the positive in some ways. In other ways, there are some benefits as well. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic, and so I'll make a video about that as well. And yeah, but just to close this video out, again, my name is Emil. I'm with Soulforge Media, or just Soulforge. Haven't really figured it out yet, but yeah, tell me guys what you think in the comments below. I love discussions, and I'm really curious. Like I said, this is a pretty loosely baked idea so far, so just tell me some feedback, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.